Welcome back to Assertiveness, the show that gives ordinary South Africans a space to talk about things that really matter. In today's episode, we're discussing the lack of interest from South African youth towards current affairs, towards politics, towards just the general well-being of the country when it comes to those level of decision making. And just before we went to an ad break, Usisivu was burning to answer my question about whether, because people do not have the knowledge of politics, should they then not have an opinion? Are we saying they must keep quiet? Are we then not encouraging that lack of interest?
Oh, okay, thanks, Ne. Junior largely covered me, but what I was going to say is the fact that, Ne, you having an opinion about something, for instance, there are people who will go on social media and say, an example, ANC is corrupt.
Mm-hmm. Such a bold statement.
ANC is corrupt in home affairs. You don't even know what the ANC deploys people to government. Yes. When are you say statements that you don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. You are saying things that you don't know. You don't even know the difference that there's a party and there's government. You know, people will just mix all of that together. This is what's happening. Imali, and all of those things. You are having an opinion. As JR said, someone is going to read that. And someone is ultimately going to transfer it to someone else. End up believe that's what's happening. You know? So that's what I mean about opinion, about things that you don't know.
You are having an issue with ignorant opinions.
Yes.
Abantu, they just go on social media, and some of them are influential people. Some of them have followings.
True. At work, I always have these discussions.
You sure they're discussions or they're arguments?
No, it's I always aim to inform people. Yeah. If you can see my notebooks at work, I even try to write it down for them. This is the structure. This is what happens. We go to an NGC. We go to a national conference. This is what happens. How we elect people. And they're like, oh, okay. You know. So I always try to tell people about these things.
But at what level should people know about what's happening, or let's just say in general, let's say politically, what level should people? So the thing is, I grew up in a political family. My father is employed by parliament. I will leave it at that. So I grew up, my father making me watch speeches. Like, it's terrible. My father would say, hey, Thabo Mbeki is on TV. We'd have to sit and watch Thabo Mbeki. Zuma's on TV. We'd have to sit. Even in my age, at this point, we are home and there's like an election. Yesterday they were at Gallagher or whatever. My father called and said, listen, you need to find your way here to Gallagher and come buy regalia. And I'm like, please. So I grew up, that upbringing thing does come back again. I grew up in that kind of space. So obviously, I kind of know what's happening, within our political structures. But in the same family, my sister knows, she just doesn't care. She mises that stuff. It's like whatever. So my thing is, at what level of knowing are we expecting people to be? Because JR said something like simple things. If you ask somebody in America right now about who their congressman is, who's their senate, they know that stuff. But at what level are we expecting people in South Africa to know? I mean, I can walk on the streets right now and I can ask probably 2 people. If they can give me 5 ministers, they don't know. So what level are we expecting people to know?
I think you don't need to have a deeper understanding. Simple basics, just to understand the operations and the responsibility of the Minister of Transport, yes. Minister of Public Works, Minister of Police. What is it that really they deal with? So you'll find people speaking, saying that the ANC is corrupt because of Nkandla. That's an individual issue, but now they are failing also to separate an individual from a Congress movement. See, that's a problem of people, and they want to go to social media. Just because a person has a Facebook account and he can write English, he goes and writes something that is quite irrelevant, and that person maybe is followed by more than 1,000 people, yes. And that thing has some serious impact because some of them even have international friends. They will find people international, what's the best in South Africa. These are some of the wrong things because also our media is playing a very critical role in terms of misguiding society. Our media really needs to be regulated on what they report to, because you will find a paper that will report today on something, the following weekend they apologize, but the whole week that thing has been running viral. Yes. They just apologize in the last page with 2 sentences when they apologize. Those are some of the things that we'll really need to look into as to ensure that we deal with this apathy in our society, because it's really denting the image of this country, and our country is viewed as a country that has people who just don't care about things. Yeah. Of which I doubt that it's an honest reflection of our country.
So okay, we've highlighted at least 3 things right now. We've highlighted the fact that people don't read, or they don't read the right context. Then we've also highlighted the fact that upbringing and the curriculum is playing a very big role in terms of what people are interested in. You know, I fully agree with you. The fact that what you are brought, what is happening around you as you are growing up is what's ultimately going to influence some of your decision making. And then we've now come to saying media, social media, all levels of media. We're saying they are playing a very big role, because you see, the thing about normal media, traditional media, is that it's written by journalists. So those are usually people who are supposed to know. We expect them to know. Hence why it's easy for people to believe in everything that is being said there. It's easy. I mean, they're the mouthpiece of communities. So when Sunday Times on a Sunday has this morning, in actual fact, the Star has a headline that reads, "Is at ANC could lose Gauteng." Now, you are saying, you know, those kind of statements are just, they're blatantly incorrect. You know, it's someone's opinion. And unfortunately, they've got a driver like the Star, which is a big newspaper, that is now driving that entire message. So we've now identified media, and we've now identified social media, because social media, on the other hand, is you. We have Pailela wena. As you said, muntu on a Facebook page, you have isilungu, uyabhala nje, careless. Whatever it is that they want. But now my next question is it then not the state of South African politics? Is it not the state of where we are right now that leads people to think, I want to bring it, and this might be a very dangerous move that I'm doing, but is it not the same level as how people view religion? You know, when you're sitting in a room full of, let's say, 4 or 5 individuals who are not all from the same religion, you tend to not want to talk about religion, because you know it's going to upset people, or it's going to get into an argument. Is that also not the state of South African politics?
Not really, not necessarily. Look, the state of South African politics is such that we have moved many years in democracy. So we're now at a juncture where generally people discuss what's happening in the country and can now freely discuss what's happening in the country. But the problem that we face currently is the discussions that take preference in South Africa. Now, when you talk about social media and the media, there can be 5 political stories in the social media space. There'll be one opening of a new school. There'll be one of textbooks being given away. Another one, how pensioners are being assisted. One of a sex scandal involving a minister. And then the other one will tell you about how our graduate rate is improving in South Africa. Yeah. Now, out of all those 5 stories, the most important one, which is going to be run by the media and social networks, is the sex scandal. And the reason being is that people want stuff that sells. Yes. Over and above the question of really what is good in developing a society, it's what sells. And that's where we have to appeal to the media to say that they must have a social conscience. Because if, for example, the headline that you're talking about of ANC may lose Gauteng, that's the headline. You go and read the article. They'll say that according to polls, the ANC is currently at 65% in popularity polls this year, whilst last year they were at 75. And then you ask yourself, is that losing or winning? Yeah, you see? And that's the crisis. There's no media conscious. There's no conscious within the media to say that, look, as much as we want to sell our stuff, we need to make sure that people get accurate information and the correct stories get out there. Because I think the biggest focus on social networks, especially Twitter, 140 characters, people are looking for the fastest thing to say and to get retweets. And it's not really about the content in itself. And we've moved past the stage. I think many years ago, there was a stage where people used to write to each other. These political essays. People used to, especially students in universities, they used to chit-chat through political essays, and that has gone away now, largely. And it's largely gone away because we've come to this truncated society where everything should be kept together. So the question in itself is not really the state of South African politics. State of South African politics is not different from any other country. The dynamics that we face, the challenges that we face in terms of a country with a very young democracy. But the biggest challenge that we face is where our minds are tuned at as a nation. I mean, if sex is the only thing that really sells when it comes to a political story, then we're in trouble.
Okay, so wait. If I'm going to conclude what you are saying the state of South African politics is like any other democratic state. We deal with the same problems, we've got the same issues. The difference is, we can't say the difference, or what we are faced with in South Africa is that we have a media that is not politically conscious, is what you said. We've got a media that sells papers. They don't necessarily report on what is happening politically in South Africa. I'm going to give you a chance now. So now my question is, because we also we're sitting with a media that is got absolutely no political consciousness, then we also sit with a youth or a citizenry. I'm actually going to try and move it away from the youth, because I don't think it's just the youth. I think it's also anybody now who's, the citizens who they don't want to read, or they're not reading the right things. They therefore become reliant on that same media to give them information. So, Rikos?
I think the media of the country in itself is not transformed.
Okay.
We have a media that has perceived itself as an opposition to the ruling party.
Okay. Not to government.
Not to government.
To the specific ruling party.
The specific ruling party. We have a media that has created a society that everything that is reported by the media is an honest truth, regardless how we are going to come back and try to explain it. Our society is in a corner that believes that everything that is said by the media is an honest truth and nothing more, nothing less. And we have a media that it thinks that it understands South Africa more than anyone. We have journalists in our country, and we have public analysts about Justice Malala. Very uninformed about many issues, but if you listen to him, you think that is the most profound TV presenter that I can call. Yeah. But if you listen to him when he's questioning, you could see that most of the interviews that he's having with most prominent leaders, I think those interviews, they tend to be an education to him. I think they end up educating him about what is really happening in the country. Because when they have this media perception that our country is collapsing, our country is going astray, our youth it does not care. That's not true. And I maintain that the sooner we deal with the independence of the media in our country, the better. The media must be properly regulated. You see in Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe is a democratic state whether you like it or not. But the media of Zimbabwe is highly regulated. You will never hear media reporting bad about President Mugabe. But in South Africa, they have audacity to even draw the president.
To even draw the president.
Yes.
And create satire around him.
Yes, you see. Then they will tell you what they call it in the media independence, something like that, freedom of expression and so on and so on. Those are some of the things that we will really need to zoom in as we move forward as a country, so that we ensure that our country is stable. Before we can have a stable country, we must regulate this media.
So what are you guys asking for? Are you asking for zero negative reporting on government or the specific ruling party, or are we asking for balanced reporting?
We want fair reporting.
That's what we fair. At this point in time, the media is the opposition.
It's no longer even it's not longer the official opposition party, as they call themselves. So it's the media.
Yes. The media is the media. It's killing the youth.
So what happened? I'm going to pose a question. Then we're going to go to a quick ad break. So I'm going to let you guys think about this. My question is, what happened to own media? What is happening to own media? Because I feel like if you Barack Obama himself, almost every single week, if I stand corrected, has a website where he goes, speaks on what's happening, what current affairs, tells the country what's happening, and no one can question, no one can write a story. He is proactive. No, he's not on the back foot. if you understand. I feel like South African government is on the back foot of the media. And that is why it's easy for the media to always have one up them. We're on the back foot. If you're going to be on the back foot, then you are reactive. You're going to forever be correcting what the media is saying. And as you say, that story runs for a week. By the time your correction comes in, no one cares. And he said it. We believe everything the media tells us because we are an uninformed citizenry. The media, what the media tells me, granted there are some of us who are obviously we have a bit of, we can make, the decision to say, I don't believe everything the media says, but, the media is there and it's influencing people, it's telling people stories. So just after the ad break, I want us to go back to that. Where is the government? I don't want to talk about the ruling party. Where is the government's own media? Guys at home, please don't go away.